So I don't have a full bottle of this with me yet. It's launching very soon, but I feel like some people already have their bottles. But OUD Parfum, soon to launch, slated to launch March 1st. But I do have a sample here. One sample to do first impressions on camera. And then also compare it to the original from 2007. And then also the Intense from 2017. So if you're curious to learn about OUD Parfum, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much. It's Sebastian. We're talking about OUD Parfum. Yes, I'm quite excited for this launch. I've gotten a little bored of OUD. It's a nice fragrance. It's classy. It's masculine. It's a very safe OUD fragrance. Very designer, very Western. Not animalic or anything like that. But if you were able to get your nose on the flanker, the 2017 Intense version, then that went into the animalic direction because they added Castoreum in it. And a lot of people were turned off by it. I have a comparison video on the channel of the original OUD along with the OUD Intense. You can go catch that video, but today it's all about the OUD Parfum. If anybody's gotten their nose on this one yet, do let me know. Put a comment down below. I don't have price point or anything for this fragrance yet, and again, this is a Parfum edition of a private blend collection fragrance from Tom Ford. This is the first time they're launching a Parfum. They did have those Fortes. Remember also we've got Neroli Portofino Parfum coming out, and that used to be Neroli Portofino Forte. So is that what they're going to do now since the Parfum craze is all the rage? So they're going to start calling it Parfum instead of Forte. So this is a 2024 launch. As I said, it's launching around March. We've got notes of Sandalwood, Oud Vanilla, Cardamom, Patchouli, Tonka, Amber, Vetiver, Pink Pepper, and Rosemary. Let me find out who is a fan of the original Oud from 2007. I believe it's one of the original Tom Ford fragrances from the private blend collection. And also, do let me know who's a fan of the Intense, because the Intense came out 10 years after the original. And again, I don't think it was very well received. I know a lot of folks that don't like animalic fragrances were really turned off by it, because there was some funk there with that one, with the fact that it's Castoreum. And Castoreum was generally used to create the leather accord, so it did go leathery, for sure it did. But again, I'm going to smell them and compare them against this 2024 Parfum edition. So let's go ahead and check it out. I'm going to spritz it on strip first, and then let you know, because I haven't got my nose on it. This was given to me by somebody that works at Neiman Marcus. They mentioned that this fragrance is not out yet, but they had an advanced sample, and so they gave me a sample. It's a little light for a Parfum. I think I need to spray, because this sprayer is not spraying very well. Okay, there we go. So off the strip, it does seem like a thicker, denser version of the original. There's not much difference about it that I'm witnessing or experiencing here in comparison to the original OUD. It smells almost identical, if not identical. We're getting the cardamom. There's a lot of cardamom in the original. We're getting a lot of that oud, but again, it's not necessarily that funky oud. It's more of the Western oud, which to me is more like woods rather than like your traditional oud. We're getting that as well, and we're getting the patchouli and things like that as well. So it's smelling very, very similar to the original. But with the original, there is that thinness, which this one doesn't show. The thinness is kind of gone, so you are definitely experiencing the denseness now. It's a thicker spray, not necessarily this thin and airy spray. Again, I don't know how it's going to perform, but with the fact that I'm noticing or smelling the thickness, the denseness of the fragrance, I tend to feel like those kind of fragrances do last longer. But for me, OUD does disappear pretty fast. I don't know if it's because it's been butchered throughout the years. It's going on almost 20 years. You know, it's 2024, came out in 2007, so came out before IFRA regulations, so they must have done things throughout the years, so it's gotten a lot thinner. A lot of the fragrances that came out 20 years ago do seem thinner, and in fact, fragrances that came out 30, 40 years ago do seem even much thinner, because fragrances are constantly getting very lightly reformulated along the way, so we're not noticing it like from one batch to the other, but 30, 40 years later, and in this case almost 20 years later, you are noticing some differences. But here with Oud Wood Parfum, yeah, it's definitely much thicker, but to me it smells just like the original, because I like the smell of the original, and the original is so popular. It's one of the most popular Tom Ford fragrances, or I should say private blend fragrances, duped many times, copied many times, inspired by many times. So that fragrance is popular. In fact, I feel like the 4 original Tom Ford fragrances, Tobacco Vanille, Tuscan Leather, Noir de Noir, Oud Wood, were just copied constantly. People liked them, and they just started just emulating them, duping them, cloning them, and things like that. So for now, this is definitely a winner for me because I like the original. I need to test it out on skin to see how it lasts. But to me, it smells very, very close to the original, which comes to mind. I'm going to go ahead and spritz the original. I used to have the Tom Ford decanters used to come with these, atomizers. And unfortunately, the outside cover, the case of the actual atomizer, kind of fell apart after you use it, because I got mine around 2014, 10 years ago. So I have the actual glass, and let's go ahead and spritz that here to see. The only thing is the samples don't spray as big, and this spritz like really great, whereas this little sample doesn't really spray very well. So I feel like when atomizers don't spray as well, I don't experience the fragrance very well. So that's why I don't really like samples myself. I prefer to experience the fragrances from an actual bottle, the way it's supposed to be sprayed. Because when you're sampling fragrances from samples, the sample sprayer might be like dull and it won't spray, and it kind of need to force it, and it doesn't give you the full experience of how the fragrance wears. Because sometimes I get samples I like the smell, later I get the fragrance, it's completely different. But so that's why I feel like in this case I'm not experiencing it as perfectly as I should from a sample. But this is the new one, the Parfum, and this is the original. So when I said density, I definitely experience it here between the two. So with the new version, you can experience how thick it is. With the old version, it's airier, it's much more spread out. Like you're taking a little something and spreading it out and covering up a big space so that you can get a lot of that smell a lot of places. Whereas the Parfum, since it is a Parfum concentration, it is a higher concentration, a lot more perfume oils go in. You're experiencing the density and how thick it is when you're smelling them side by side compared to one another. But in general, I'm experiencing the fact that the Oud Wood original does have a lot of thinner qualities and not as dense as the previous. But as far as smells go, when I'm comparing them side by side, the only difference that I'm experiencing as far as smell goes, the fact that it's thinner, but when you're focusing on the smell, it smells quite identical. So those are those two fragrances, and I have the Oud Wood Intense in a little atomizer here. This atomizer actually sprays better than the freaking Tom Ford sample atomizer. So let's see. I know this is totally animalic. If you haven't, see how this one sprays? This one sprays so much better compared to this. So I don't understand why they would use such cheap atomizers. Because if the brand wants you to buy their fragrance and the experience of it is so bad from a sample, wouldn't you think twice and give somebody a better sprayer? Because like I said, this sprayer, look at this, it sprays so well. And then the Tom Ford atomizer, it's not spraying very well. But going back to the Oud Wood Intense, oh man, it's quite animalic. So animalic. As soon as you spray it Castoreum appears. It is a Castoreum balm mixed in with whatever oud they have. And again, the oud in the original is not necessarily like authentic oud. I feel like it's an accord that they've created to smell kind of funky, but not quite, because oud wood's not, it's very mass appealing to me. And so they've got that oud in the Oud Wood Intense, but it's covered up with that Castoreum, which gives you the kind of leather animalic funkiness that's in here. But once you get past the Castoreum, which a lot of people can't because they think it's really, really funky and it smells pretty bad, you do have the original fragrance here. You've got the Cypress, the Cardamom, there's Juniper, and then of course that oud accord that they've created for this. So Oud Wood Intense is discontinued, but I do see stock out there at the discounters. But Oud Wood Parfum is still on its way, but I am seeing that some people have bottles. I don't know how they're getting them. I don't have a bottle, obviously, so I'm doing a first impressions for you from the sample. But comparing them, they're definitely very, very similar as far as smells go. Now the only thing is to see how long it lasts and how it performs when I eventually get a bottle. Again, I don't know how much this is going to be. Tom Ford prices have been way, way jacked up, way, way expensive. So I try and take advantage of new fragrances like from places like Neiman Marcus with some kind of a discount or a gift. Most of the time it's a gift card. I prefer to get an actual physical discount. Once in a while they'll have $1 off or like a 15% beauty discount. So those are the times I like to buy, but sometimes they're not happening. So in order to, get the bottle and review it. But if you guys shop at places like that, always ask for a discount, promotion, a gift with purchase, a gift card promotion. Because I'm looking at getting the new Estee Lauder Frederic Malle fragrances of the vintage fragrances redone or kind of curated by Frederic Malle, and they contacted me recently and said, well, we have the gift card promotion. I said, you know what, I'm going to hold off on those. I will get them once you have like a 15% discount, because they don't ever go down more than 15%, or as I should say, they don't ever do a discount more than 15% off. So I'll wait for those because they're, classic fragrances. But with this one, it's launching on the 1st or at the beginning of March, which actually on top of that, I'm going to be traveling to Europe at the beginning of March, so which we'll see if I can get my nose on it to review it for you guys. But here, this is my first impression. So far, similar smell, very similar, just feels a lot more concentrated, thicker, denser, compared to how the original is a lot airier. But once you get past that, it's just a more dense fragrance. It's a higher concentration perfume. That's why it's called Parfum. As soon as I wear it and compare them side by side, I will report back. But that's all I have for you in today's video on this comparison of Oud Wood Parfum from 2024 with the original Oud Wood 2007, and then of course the Oud Wood Intense from 2017. Also, I forgot to mention the original perfumer for Oud Wood is Richard Herpin, and they don't mention his name for the Parfum or the Intense. And maybe he wasn't involved. Maybe, Estee Lauder has the formula and they can just do whatever they want with the fragrance. But the original fragrance is Richard Herpin, which I feel like he's created one of the best fragrance DNAs. It makes sense. It is one of the best fragrance DNAs because it's copied so much. I never smelled a fragrance that smelled like Oud Wood prior to smelling Oud Wood. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts on Oud Wood Parfum. Are you curious to get your nose on it? If you've gotten your nose on it, are you going to, if you have gotten your nose on it, do let me know what you think about it. And also, if you're not a fan of it with the original, will you check out the new one? And what about Oud Wood Intense? Were you a fan of that one? Or did you skip that one because it was too animalic? Do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.